This tenacious bacteria is a cause of foodborne infections in people, and in animals, we see it as a cause of abortions and systemic infections. In today's lecture, we're going to be covering Listeria monocytogenes. Like many of the organisms we've talked about so far in class, Listeria monocytogenes is biocontainment level 2. These bacteria are described as short gram-positive rods and can sometimes even be coccoid, as you can see in this gram stain on the right. These are facultative anaerobes, so they can grow under anaerobic conditions. And in the laboratory, their growth is enhanced by CO2, so they're capnophilic. They form small beta hemolytic colonies on blood agar, and Listeria monocytogenes is well known for its ability to grow under a wide range of conditions. So from very low temperatures, 3 degrees, up to 45 degrees Celsius, and over a broad pH range from 5.6 to 9.6. When grown in culture, Listeria monocytogenes displays a tumbling motility in broth, and I'll put a link to a video above that demonstrates this nicely. And finally, Listeria monocytogenes is a facultative intracellular parasite, so it's able to get into and replicate in host cells. In this image here, you can see a cytological preparation of the abomasal contents, or first stomach, of probably an aborted fetal bison. Listeria monocytogenes is an important cause of abortions in ruminants, and when evaluating for the etiology and trying to determine what happened in any particular case, looking at those fetal abomasal contents can give us a really good clue. And so here, where you can see all of these short gram-negative rods, no doubt this was cultured in the past, and Listeria monocytogenes was identified. This organism is part of the normal microbiota, so it's found in the intestinal tract and is actually very common in feces, both of people and animals. Actually, up to about 5% of people have it living in our own feces. After birth, it can be recovered in milk, so it's been found in the milk of sheep after lambing, and people are most frequently exposed on consuming raw dairy and meat products. Of relevance to our ruminant species, Listeria monocytogenes readily replicates in decaying plant material. So we find it in silage, which is improperly prepared. This is a fermented forage product, which is acidic, which means it has a low pH. And when improperly prepared, so if the pH doesn't go down enough, if it doesn't become acidic enough, if it doesn't go below this 5.6, we can get growth of Listeria monocytogenes. This organism also survives in the environment for long periods of time, so reportedly about 2 years in dry soils, which can make it challenging to decontaminate areas where we need to do so, such as food processing facilities. There are 28 species of Listeria, and Listeria monocytogenes is by far the most important one. The tumbling motility of Listeria is a really key characteristic that allows us to identify it. And this tumbling is more pronounced after overnight incubation at lower temperatures, so 25 degrees Celsius. Listeria monocytogenes, just like staphylococci, is catalase positive, and we can differentiate between Listeria monocytogenes and ivanovii using a number of different biochemical tests. So looking at the CAMP reaction with both Rhodococcus equi and Staph aureus, monocytogenes is positive with Staph aureus, but negative with Rhodococcus, and ivanovii is the opposite. And then looking at the size of the hemolytic zone surrounding the colonies, where monocytogenes has a much narrower zone. We know a lot about the virulence of Listeria monocytogenes. It produces proteins which allow it to bind to host cells and actually induce phagocytosis. So part of the life strategy of this organism is to make its way within its host cells. Once it makes its way in, Listeria lysine O is a pH-dependent pore-forming toxin, which allows the organism to lyse the phagosome, and it allows it to actually escape into the cytoplasm of the cell so that it's not contained within the structure that it enters. Next, the organism produces ACT-A, or actin polymerizing protein, which it uses to hijack host cell actin, so these filaments within the cell, to push organisms towards adjacent cells. And then phospholipase C disrupts the cell's membrane and allows it to spread from cell to cell without ever really leaving that intracellular space, and therefore not allowing the bacteria to be exposed to the immune system. Listeria monocytogenes is by far the most important species within this genus. In ruminants, we see encephalitis and abortion. In monogastrics, so animals which have a single stomach, not ruminants like our cattle, sheep, and goats. And also in birds, we see septicemia. In neonatal horses, we see septicemia. And in people, we can see a variety of syndromes, from septicemia through abortion and gastroenteritis, or a much more mild foodborne infection. Listeria ivanovii has been associated with abortions in sheep and cattle. Listeria is really common in the environment. It's found in feces and plant material. We can identify it in even manure fertilizer. I mentioned that Listeria can be present in ensiled forges. Because it's able to grow at a relatively low pH, its growth isn't inhibited until the silage becomes sufficiently acidic. So while the target silage pH varies, it should be below 5 to ensure that we don't have this organism growing or living. Insufficiently acidic silage can therefore harbor viable organisms, which are then ingested along with feed and can cause infections in those animals. The organism enters through the mouth, through compromised barriers. So if we have mucosal damage, maybe there's some sharp feed material, some small abrasions or cuts in the mouth, following teeth cutting or even tooth loss. In the neuronal form of the disease, it's thought to then migrate through the trigeminal nerve into the brain. So the trigeminal nerve being one of those cranial nerves that innervates the face. Once it's made its way into the brain, we get acute meningoencephalitis and micro-abscesses, and animals present with what's colloquially known as circling disease. This is actually the most common form in ruminants. I've put a link to a video above that shows a cow with Listeria monocytogenes circling. Sepsis and abortions are also associated with Listeria in our ruminants, and this is thought to occur when the organism is either ingested, so it gains entry to the body sort of distal to the mouth. Remember, the gastrointestinal tract is kind of the outside of the body. So if it gets in past the mouth, or if it's inhaled, then we see these systemic infections. Listeria has a particular predilection for the uterus and fetal tissues of ruminants, and so this tropism, not surprisingly, leads to placentitis, fetal septicemia, abortions, stillbirths, and neonatal deaths. Aborted ruminant fetuses should therefore be considered biohazardous, particularly for pregnant women who can also become infected with Listeria monocytogenes. When we see abortions, it's usually sporadic. The herd or flock incidence is typically less than 15%. And generally speaking, it occurs in animals without prior clinical signs. So in cattle, generally in the last 2 months of gestation, and in sheep during the last month. The fetuses can be born either macerated, so dead fetuses which are mushy and very abnormal, or if they are still alive, they're very, very weak. The effect on the fertility of the dam is thought to be transient, and recovered animals are thought to also be resistant to reinfection. In herds or flocks where we see abortion, antimicrobial prophylaxis of in-contact animals with tetracycline has been used. Really important management strategies also include removing the abortuses. You want to remove that infectious material and prevent exposure through that route, and also to test the silage to make sure that we don't have living Listeria monocytogenes present. Here you can see a pathological image of necrotizing placentitis due to Listeria. This was from an animal who did abort, and you can see these large necrotic cotyledons within the placenta. In this image, again, we have those bison abomasal contents. So in the aborted fetus, looking in the abomasum is a really useful place to collect a sample from which the etiology responsible for the abortion can be determined. Many other animal species are also susceptible to Listeria monocytogenes, and in these two pictures, you can see cytological examination of What's most likely a chinchilla liver. Chinchillas are particularly susceptible to sepsis, and multifocal hepatic necrosis is apparently the most common lesion. So here you can see these small rod-shaped bacteria throughout the tissue. And then finally, this is a cytological examination of Listeria monocytogenes from a raccoon liver. You can see this very nice cluster of small rod-shaped bacteria here.